This one's called What's It Like in Jail? Another prison story, ladies' prison story, and obviously in a female jail.
Men in women's prisons, they just put a wig on and then they're female. Of everything I expected it to be. You go in, you put on an induction wing. I was on that wing for a couple of weeks. They told me it was because my parents had been branded as the police in the media, so I was just going to stay on that wing for as long as possible. And then when it came to putting me on a wing, they come and got me and put me on the biggest wing they possibly could, so good times. And then in reception, one thing that really upset me was they give you this plastic, so everything's plastic, you don't see metal, obviously, knives and forks and a plate, and you keep that for the whole time you're in jail. You eat every meal off it, you wash it in a bowl on the wing that everyone shares, just like a washing up bowl with some fairy liquid in. Obviously you'd wash it again in your cell, but that was the worst. They are quite big on education as well, so both prisons I was in, you had to like either prove that you had GCSEs or do your GCSEs, so obviously I proved that because I wasn't doing that again. But going to a class in prison was the best. It was the best experience of my whole life. It was just like, you know, like when you were at school and all the naughty kids just in one lesson with each other. I enjoyed that. One thing as well, like I never really expected, but I don't know why, was every day there was just something happened, and it just became normal. Like I remember the first time I saw a woman take a shit on the exercise yard. That just became a normality because the staff wouldn't let them into the toilets. They take a shit on the floor in front of 70 women. Do you know, like women that have pulled the sanitary pad out and chased women round a wing because they're known to have HIV. Lockdown. Like, it just fucking... ways women shouldn't behave, I've seen it every day. So it just become normal, like absolutely normal to see these carries on. But going on to exercise yard, absolutely love that. Oh, people watching in prison. So good. The thing that shocked me the absolute most, and I'll never shut up, is the fact that we've got men in women's prisons. They just put a wig on and then they're female. So we have them in women's prisons, fully working men as well. I just really didn't expect that. I think I'm traumatised enough by being in prison, and now I've got a bloke stood in front of me trying to tell me that he's a woman also in prison. I'm thinking, you fucking what? The other one as well, which I wasn't too happy about, was pedos. I don't know if you can say it on TikTok, but so in men's, obviously they are on like a protected wing. We're just mixed. We're all mixed in as one. And the wild thing is, when you get to open jail, if you call, you're in trouble. So there was one time, story time, we were sat in, there was like a cafe in the open jail, so me and my friends were just sat there, and one night we'd got onto a conversation of Jimmy Savile. So obviously the word nonce got thrown about, whatever. Next day I've got an officer come to my room and she's like, you've just got to be a little bit careful of where you are, you know, and remember who, you know, whose company you sign, because that will offend some people. So calling a nonce, a convicted nonce, a nonce, it was not allowed. And then you find out the person that grassed, so went to the officers to say that you used the word nonce, she killed her baby. And you can't say anything to her, otherwise you get in trouble. And when I say you get in trouble, you literally get sent back from open jail where you're allowed to go home, see your family, and that's closed jail where you're locked up 23 hours a day. It's mental. So like obviously at open jail you can have a job, so I had a job in the community. You're allowed to save up money obviously for your release. I didn't ever expect to meet the girls that I did in jail. Like, there's so many girls that are like my age that have just got some wild story. Or there's some crazy people, like bad crimes, but sound people. And everyone's got a story as well. I think that's the one thing. My perception of people in jail has changed massively. I think just listening to people's stories and how they ended up in the situation that they're in, or you know, why they stabbed the fella, like everyone's got a story. I think as well, like one of the massive things is when you're there, you forget that. So like sometimes I'd be sat at the table eating your dinner, and you'd look and you'd think, I'm sat with 3 murderers and a burglar, but they're lovely, and you just wouldn't like. There's not many people I've met that have been like, yeah, you're bad. There's like very few people, and I've met some bad people on paper. So I think that was the surprising thing, you know, when you just kind of like humanise people instead of like what you read in the media. Like, I'll be quite open. So my last couple of weeks in prison, I was on a wing with Rose West, and this is mental to say out loud because she's a bad lady, but she was lovely. Like, she was just an old lady. And that's the mental thing when you go to prison, is like you're surrounded by fucking really bad people, but they're just humans. I've got some funny stories like that. Like there was a terrorist as well, and she was lovely, but bad on paper. I don't know, just weird, just a fucking weird experience. Yeah, but just overall, I think prison's just wild. Like, wild. Not as bad as I expected. I never expected good, but then it was bad in ways that I didn't expect, which made it worse than what I thought it was going to be. I don't know, just weird. I wouldn't go back. Don't really recommend it. But funny. Just, I guess it's just ticked off the bucket list now, isn't it? I just never ever thought I'd go to jail for that. Of all the things I've done in my life, and I went to jail for not a right lot. But anyway, I'll be back.
All right. Do you know, I enjoyed that. What's her name? Her name's Eleanor Brown. Go and show some support. Yeah, but it's mental, innit? These women's jail, just jail in general. I've never been to jail, so I can't tell you. But like, listening to people's jail stories is actually quite interesting. Like, I actually wonder what she did. But before all that, I feel like I can hear her dog snoring in the background, which I found quite joke whilst listening to that. But anyway, yeah, I think that's mental. It's mental. Like, some of the things that she said was just crazy work. So I understand, obviously, that people in testing situations will see people doing crazy things. So, for example, the person relieving themselves on the exercise yard floor, which is crazy work, by the way, and the person who took out the thing and chased the other person round the yard with the thing, that's even crazier work. But like, I always ask my missus, yeah, I always say, we always have this bants, and the bants is, yo, is the women's toilets as bad as the men's toilets? Because everywhere I go, that's just a bant, and I typically, like, the consensus I get is that the women's toilets is worse than the men's toilets. So transposing that logic to this scenario, I almost think that the women's jails would be worse than the men's jails in terms of people doing just scruffy things, bruv. And what she's saying kind of adds weight to that. I don't know, you can tell me in the comments, but she's there saying that a lot of the people that she met there were sound, and I definitely get that that would be the case, because that's probably the same with a man's jail. You know, everybody says that people are generally sound. Obviously, you do get the kind of politics side of it, but that aside, people are just people, aren't they? Now, I'm not too sure who Rose West is. I've heard the name before. I might have to look into that and probably throw a picture or article up on the screen. But I have a feeling it can only be one of a number of crimes, if you know what I'm saying. So yeah, I've heard the name before. I'll think about it. But she's saying that she was sound. I think from a man's perspective, a man who went jail, it would be, depending on what she did, she may never be sound, if that makes sense. I'm not trying to say too much on that, but depending on what her crime was, no matter how sound she is, she can't be sound. And then depending on what her crime was, she probably can't mix with the general population. But what she's saying is that in a women's jail, you don't have protective custody, which is what you hear people talking about, PC, and then GP, general population, and protective custody. Now, these might even be American terms. I don't know the ins and outs. I just know what I've heard from man who went there and whatever. But she's basically saying then, rather than having the two different distinct categories that you'd have in a men's jail, it's all one thing. So you'll have all the kinds of offenders in the same population with everybody else. So it would, this person could possibly be one of them people, which is crazy work. And I think another thing that's funny is when she said that the jail was full of a lot of birds like her age. But she's either in her 20s or her 30s. So she's saying that there's a lot of birds her age, which is just, it's not a laughing matter, but it's joking. It a lot of birds her age in from mad crimes, like they shanked up the fella, and you know why they probably would have shanked him up, because you know what he would have probably been doing. Either he's knocking her about, or he went with the next bird in it, and you know, you've got these, you know, basically what that says to me is that a lot of these women are about it. Like, if you're really gonna disrespect them like that, they're not gonna go out and get with the next man. They might do that eventually, but their first reaction is to shank you up, bro. So man, them, you need to watch out for that. I won't even call it advice, it's guidance. Whatever you do with your life is not my problem. You do what you want to do, but I'm just saying, if you want a smooth life, it's like they say, happy wife, happy life, innit? What I've seen is that that's generally how, I don't know about, like, you hear a lot of people saying a lot of things, like in America and that. We're not in America, bro, I don't know about them. But out here, my experience has been that if you treat the bird nice, she's gonna look out for you as well, if she really likes you, innit? The main caveat there is if she really likes you. And if she really likes you is a whole topic on its own, which might deserve a separate video. I'm sure we'll cover that at some time. But yeah, I enjoyed that. I'm really interested to know what she went pen for, to be honest with you.
Let me carefully check one sec. Let me carefully check, wait there. Let me carefully check. Ah, lovely jubbly.
Yeah. Doesn't say, what does it say here? Doesn't say here, but yeah, women's jail sounds mental. Like, cross-referencing this to what that other lady said, I don't know. She sounds like she would have just done a quick madness and then ended up in pen and been like, oh, what the hell? Ended up sitting down. The big takeaway I get from both of these is, whilst, so the other video I did about the lady who went jail and then this lady who went jail, is whilst they probably didn't want to end up there, they probably didn't expect that in their life they would end up there. They kind of enjoyed it. I don't know. If anybody knows more than me, leave it in the comments below. So listen, like, comment, share and subscribe if you like this content. If you've watched to the end, thanks for watching to the end. More content coming as usual, as always. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.